Hello, Barry St Edmunds Buddhist Sangha, Buddhist Centre. It's Jnanaruchi again. I've had a bit of a shave since yesterday when I recorded that meditation. I noticed I was looking a little bit bushy. So I've made myself more presentable for you. Don't quite know when I'll get a haircut again in the future though, but there we go. So this is our Wednesday night slot, and we're currently in the middle of a theme called How to Live Your Life. And the first 5 weeks of that theme are going to be about ethics, the Buddhist ethical principles, what we call the precepts, ethical precepts. But I was just thinking, I don't know really how to live my life at the moment because everything's changed. Clearly, we're not in a friend's meeting house in Bury St Edmunds on a Wednesday night. I'm in the shrine room here at Vidrasana, which is looking very nice. We can't leave our homes. A lot of us can't go to work, or at least do our normal work. Can't see our friends and our family. I wasn't able to go and visit my parents last weekend. So, thinking about how to live your life just brings up more and more questions. Whereas before, it seemed more or less like life continued, to some extent, reasonably well, uninterrupted. There was something on Facebook the other day I saw saying, bring back Brexit. So the certainty of the instability of Brexit seems like a dream compared to now, doesn't it? And I was going to be talking about generosity or in the positive sense of the ethical principle of taking the not given in the negative sense, the prohibitive side of Buddhist ethics, taking the not given. But maybe I'll come back to that, because I think this question of how to live our lives or what to make of our lives is currently more important. So, the Buddha lived 2,500 years ago in northeastern India, roughly on the border with Nepal. And he came up with these, what we would consider spiritual insights. He didn't make it up, he discovered it, or discovered them. And in the Buddha's time, it was basically Iron Age society, much as we were 500 BC actually. We were in Iron Age society back then. And there would have been lots of plagues, I imagine, droughts, famines, and life would have been uncertain. Just like now. We tended to think in the past, life was pretty stable. We would always have food on the shelves, things like this. And now there's not so much food on the shelves. I personally think there will be enough food in the future. I'm not worried about it. But in a way, we don't know. There is much more instability in the world. Things have changed, and there is more suffering. People are dying, and people are ill. And it does make me think that this is more in line with the life and existence of the Buddha when he was around. And in the same way that the Buddha had these very deep spiritual insights, I think we could use this as an opportunity for our own spiritual flourishing. Because in a way, from a Buddhist perspective, nothing has changed. So the Buddha's 3 main insights were all things are impermanent, all things are insubstantial, and all things are unsatisfactory. Now, 2 or 3 weeks ago, we may have listened to that and thought, I can see how that's true. But it wouldn't be quite so in our face. Whereas now, it's quite clear things are impermanent, isn't it? Our lives have become much more changing and fluid. How we just structure our daily life has changed immeasurably for most of us. So impermanence seems to be very in the air. All things are also insubstantial, according to the Buddha. Now we can take that on many different levels, but if we just think about our future plans, perhaps. I had many plans actually. I was supposed to be on retreat this week, over near Hereford. I was supposed to go on holiday in May to Sweden. I was supposed to be going to London next week for a meeting. All of these things are in my calendar, and to some extent, I believed they were existent and true. And it turns out they're not. They are insubstantial. The future is insubstantial, and indeed our ideas about the future are insubstantial. And that can actually help us, because it can stop us worrying too much, or give us a certain perspective on our worries and catastrophizing, whereas we don't know what's going to happen. I'm not saying it's not wise to plan for the future, but we need to hold to those plans loosely. And then the third great insight of the Buddha was that all things are unsatisfactory. And again, a few weeks ago, we'd sort of think, oh yeah, sometimes there's queue going in the bank, that's a bit of a pain, or can't download this right thing on Amazon, that's a bit of a pain. And of course there were more important issues of unsatisfactoriness or suffering in our lives, of course there were. But more or less, I think our lives seem to be trundling along sort of okay. Whereas now, the inherent unsatisfactoriness of things seems to be brought right into our faces. It's quite clear that being stuck in your own home is a bit of a pain. Can't go and visit your friends and relatives, might not be able to work, and it does seem more difficult to get food. These are definitely objective, unsatisfactory things. But what the Buddha is saying is this impermanence, insubstantiality, and unsatisfactoriness is always there. It just happens to be more apparent now. And so, because it's more apparent, it's easier for us to see. So this is a time, as I said, of hopefully, or potential for a greater perspective, a deeper perspective, a more spiritual perspective on things. So the Buddha's answer to all of this was, okay, so these things, these marks of existence, they are true, they're inherently true, all the time and in all places, and we can't escape them. And that may lead us feeling worried and upset. But the Buddha said, we don't have control over those external events, but what we do have control over is our minds and how we respond to these events. And that is a great, great power we have. We have the power to control our responses to the circumstances we find ourselves in. Sometimes in Triratna we refer to this as taking responsibility for one's mental states. And I'll be honest with you, taking responsibility for one's mental states, well, one, it's not easy, and two, it can be a real pain. Because when you start seeing your own personal responses to things and taking on board that it's your responsibility, those responses, it means you just can't act, well, for me anyway, one can't act in the ways one might have done in the past. One can't. Or you start to see more and more how becoming irritated or upset, angry, anxious, whatever it may be, a large part of that will be down to you rather than the events themselves. And there may be very good reasons for those things, and often those responses, those reactions are very understandable. But also very often, they're not particularly helpful for us and others around us. And particularly in myself at the moment, I'm noticing a background anxiety which presents itself as being slightly more irritable. And I have to note to myself that that irritation is my own doing. It's not, someone may do something that seems irritating, but that's just them doing something. and our response to it is our own. And like I said, that can be annoying, basically, when you see that I'm getting irritated because of me, not actually because of them. They're just doing whatever it is, or whatever the key or the trigger for our irritation is. So, but once we do start to see that it's our responsibility, it's our response, our reaction, that is the start of learning. It's a key to greater power. Because if you've been coming along to the Berry Group for a while, even just a few weeks, we will have shown you how to meditate. You probably know the mindfulness of breathing and the Metta Bhavana. And both of these practices are designed to help us slow down, concentrate our minds, pay attention to what we want to pay attention to, and generate more love and positive emotion. So that then when these reactions do occur, we have the tools to have greater awareness of them, not let them unravel quite so much, not get carried away by the stories or whatever it may be, calm ourselves down, give kindness to ourselves in what are, without a doubt, very uncomfortable and possibly painful situations that we find ourselves in, and give ourselves love during those circumstances and to other people as well. So I put up a video yesterday on YouTube, which is probably beneath us, called a grounding or settling meditation, and that was particularly for people who, or if you're feeling unsettled, anxious, or worried, helps you drop out of the thinking, trains of thought that we may have got ourselves stuck in, come more into our bodies, out of the thinking, settle into our bodies, which are reliable, they're steady and solid, you can use them as a refuge to calm down. Just as I sit here now, I can breathe into my lower body, my lower belly, feel my bottom on the chair, I can actually feel my shoulders relaxing. And the mild anxiety of recording myself on my mobile phone is dropping away. And then, so doing the grounding, settling meditation, very helpful for finding ourselves anxious or slightly irritable. And then one of the other things I've been feeling is a very subtle sense of sadness, I've noticed. And for me it comes out, when I first notice it, I procrastinate a little bit more. I'm less able to attend to my work, so I'm here at Vidrasana. We've still got quite a lot of work to do actually. And I'm finding myself not able to really attend to my work and sort of stay with things. So I'm sort of concentrating doing lots of small little jobs that I can get over and done with fairly swiftly, give myself a sense of completion and mastery and positivity. And I was sort of looking within myself as to what's going on there, and it reminded me of the time when I used to work at Windhorse, our Buddhist company that we had in Cambridge, where we sold giftware and homeware, and that we shut that company. It's quite a large company. We started to shut that about 5 years ago, and as that was coming to the end of its life, I had exactly the same sort of thing. I just couldn't quite get myself into the work mode. And I realised it was trapped emotion, and the emotion that was trapped was a sense of sadness. So this project, this company I'd been involved in for 5 years, a very important part of my life, was coming to an end, and I wouldn't be able to work there anymore and see all the people that I enjoyed working with. So it was a very sad time, and that had somehow got a bit trapped within me. And that's happening now. It's not on such a grand scale, because as I said, I think things will be okay. The Vidrasana will carry on. And we will start having retreats here again. in just a few months, hopefully. But there is this sadness at the back of my mind and in my body. And I notice when I do start to calm myself down and settle and ground myself in the meditation I was talking about before, I can have an easier sense of that emotion, that sadness. And it comes out for me in a sensitivity in the heart area, in the chest. So once I calm down and thoughts aren't so present for me, bring awareness to my chest, maybe do some metta. And there's a tenderness there. That initially seems sad, and I actually want to push it away. I think that's what the procrastination and slightly speediness that I've been experiencing is. I'm sort of rushing around a little bit more than I usually do. There's a certain sort of speediness there. And I think that's me pushing away this sadness. So when I do calm down, come more into relation with my body, sit quietly, and I stop saying no to the sadness. I wouldn't say I'm quite able to welcome it, but I don't react to it and try to push it away. And a sort of an awareness of physicality starts to arise more in the chest. So pay attention to that. It can seem sad and unpleasant. And as I stay with it longer, it transforms itself into more of a complex emotion, if you like. It becomes more bittersweet. So the sadness is still there, but there's a joy as well. And I think that joy is actually being in touch with something deeper, a deeper part of myself. And that is fulfilling, even though there's an unpleasant side to it. It's fulfilling and it's tinged with care. So I think that's where my practice of metta myself is coming out more and more. In situations like these where I have my natural response to myself in a difficult situation is one of self-care or kindness to oneself, self-compassion. And that does have a pleasurable side to it, even though it's probably not the predominant aspect of the experience. Maybe pleasure is the wrong word, but a warming feeling, a warming aspect to it. Whereas I'm in touch with something deeper, and it may be hard and a bit unpleasant, but I am in touch with it, and it's a part of me, and it's a whole part of me, and I'm not pushing it away. And it's literally heartwarming. So that might be worth attending to if you feel that there's a bit of trapped emotion. If you're anything like me, calming yourself down, settling down, doing some metta bhavana, and then just looking for a particular bodily sensation that may be arising in your awareness, paying attention to it, seeing what that comes of it. If you can invite it in, give it some care. What else was I going to say? Oh yeah, so, from that sense of care to ourselves, and our heart-warmedness, not the right term, warm-heartedness, probably the right term. We can also use that, of course, to empathise with other people, because most people will be in a similar boat to us into how they're feeling at the moment. Uncertainty and worry and a bit of confusion, doubt. So we can reflect that this is how it is for us, and that's how it is for them. That can give us a sense of empathy and connection, which again is another positive quality or emotion. So, this is the theme of how to live your life. So I'm not going to tell you how to live your life, but those are just some suggestions of how to maybe deal with certain parts of your life. And then this week I was going to be talking about generosity. So we'll say a bit about that. So generosity, it's the second of the 5 precepts a layperson would take up in traditional Buddhist cultures. It's also the second of the 5 precepts one would take on if you were a mitra, the Triratna Buddhist movement. As I said, in its negative formulation, it's taking the not given. So taking the not given, a bit wider than just common or garden stealing, if you like, or theft. So it's not taking something that is not freely given to you. So there's ways of looking at that. And then the positive formulation of that is generosity or giving. And I imagine we're all generous. Generosity is something, unless you're Mr. Scrooge, who's quite a archetypal character, generosity will be something that we do engage in, probably with a lot of people in different ways. So generosity is something we can just do more of if we can. And in Mahayana Buddhism, so later Buddhism, generosity is or gifts, the type of gifts one can give, often split up into different ways. One of those is giving of a material nature. And of course, at the moment, giving of material nature is giving food and help to those that are needed. So my girlfriend over in Colchester, she's part of a WhatsApp group now on her street where everyone is wanting to help people if they need it. It's a lovely thing to do, I think. I do think that's one of the current positive things that's coming out of this situation is that there seems to be a lot more communication going on. I'm in contact with my friends and family much more than I was before, which is lovely actually in the sense of support and interest in people's lives, sharing what's going on for us, a real sense of connection. And I do have hopes that when this comes to an end, part of that will stay with us. I think that would be a wonderful outcome of what's going on now. What was I saying? Oh yes, so this sort of sense of connection. So you can give your time and energy to those people that need it, obviously. I imagine a lot of you have thought about that and how you can help each other. And there's other things, but one of the things I was thinking about particularly as Buddhists, and it's one of the traditional 6 gifts that we can give, is that of fearlessness. So not often particularly, well, not maybe thought of as a traditional gift, fearlessness. But I think that's what we have to offer, particularly as Buddhists. Because as I said, the Buddha talks about these marks of existence, that everything is impermanent, insubstantial, and unsatisfactoriness. As practicing Buddhists, we hopefully have a greater sense of that than some. And if we've reflected on those marks of existence more deeply, taking them more into the core of our being, then hopefully we'll live from that. So when something more clearly impermanent or insubstantial or unsatisfactory arises, we are more able to deal with it. That's the idea anyway, that's the idea of being a Buddhist. That we see more and more of our lives and our whole existence and our reality as a whole as being impermanent, insubstantial and unsatisfactory. And that's freeing. It's also unsettling on one level, but ultimately it's freeing because we become looser to how things will unfold, become looser to the views that we hold, become looser to the things that we have, so that if they are lost, we aren't quite so upset by them. And through our practice of meditation and ethics, we have a stronger sense of ourself, stronger sense of self-confidence, stronger sense of being able to cope in a crisis, I guess. And so that's then where we can act, or we can give a gift of fearlessness to others. So we know these things are happening. We know it's actually just a natural part of reality that things change. You can't hold on to them. And so from the strength that we've had from seeing that, we can just be there for other people without wanting anything back from them as well, actually. And we can be positive, show that one can calm oneself down, not catastrophize or worry quite so much, settle ourselves, feel our emotions more, and have a greater sense of connection. And these are things that will all lend a sense of positivity to ourselves and those around us, which I think is really what we need at the moment, infinitely useful. So, yeah, no easy answers from a Buddhist perspective, I'm afraid. It does take a bit of hard work and consistency and persistence of practice with your meditation and your ethical practice. But I think by practicing together we can all definitely come to a greater sense of ourselves, a greater sense of the situation that we're currently facing ourselves. Okay, so quite often on Wednesday evenings we have a discussion. Unfortunately that won't be going on right now. You could discuss things in the comments below, I guess. There will be something interactive we're doing. So on Friday night we will be doing a puja, some Buddhist ritual. So if you're interested in that and you're on our mailing list, you'll be getting an invite soon. We'll be doing that via Zoom. And please keep in touch with us by looking at this YouTube page, our web page, and our Facebook page. Okay. Well, it's been nice to see you in my mind's eye. I hope you're all well, and I'll see you soon. Goodbye.